I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting/sewing podcast, which this time around is primarily sewing podcast. I apologise to anyone here for the knitting, but my knitting mojo was murdered by gift knitting, so I really haven't done very much. I have a little bit. I have a little yarn acquisition, I was going to say finished object, gosh I wish, no. New cast on, a frog about to be frogged, and yeah, you won't see the gift knit because it's still over there doing its thing. That's the shawl. So I will get back to that when my knitting mojo returns, which is hopefully soon because that is a gift for someone in 3 weeks. But this episode is mainly all about sewing because I got super into sewing, so I've got dresses galore to show you. So sorry if you're not interested in the sewing, but hopefully next time I will be able to show you some knitting because I'm off to the UK on Thursday. So I'm hoping to get some knitspiration through my mum and through going to knitting stores, and yeah, let's hope it all comes flooding back. So let's get to it. My first project I briefly showed you last time. It was supposed to be the plant lady and I had done like 5 rows or something, and after getting frustrated at my shawl in the making for a friend, I thought I need to cast something on for myself. I can't cope with this anymore. And so I casted on this really nice t-shirt pattern, but I don't know, I misread the chart. I think it's a combination of having 2 lacework projects in at one time, and my brain just went a bit like the way I'm trying to speak right now. But in the chart, there basically for the first something like 9 rows, there was knit 2 together, like a line like this, and then it suddenly changed to SSK, so it went the other way, and I just didn't see it, and I got to about row 25, and then I noticed, and even though I looked on Ravelry and it looks like the picture, so I don't understand how that works because it looks right, but I know it's wrong. I thought, no, I'm just going to keep going, but then the more I looked at it, it's not, the yarn I chose is the onion knit yarn, and it doesn't have fantastic stitch definition. I'm going to try and show you, but I am sure it won't work. I can try and use my dress as a... I know that lace work will block out better, but even so, this just doesn't look great. And it recommends, I'm trying to find it, yeah, here's basically this leaf pattern. And again, and again. It recommends a 3.75mm needle, I think. But going from my past experience, I needed to go lower, so I've gone to a 3mm, and it still looks too loose. And I know with blocking it'll like smoothen it out and such, but I don't know, it just doesn't look great. It doesn't look like it's gonna look how I want. So let's go on to the frog pond. And all the these things, they're all falling out all over the floor because I've taken the needles off to start a different project. So I'm just gonna have to pick those up afterwards. But yeah, this is a little live froggage on the YouTubes because yeah, I can't use this. All of these things are falling on the floor. Yeah, instead something glorious happened. I found new yarn. I'll discard that on the floor. I went to the wool wedding weekend here in Berlin. It was hosted by Wollen Berlin over in Wedding, which is why it's called that. It was over on Friday and Saturday, but the Saturday was a little mini market. So there were roughly 10 or so market stalls, vendors that were there selling their yarn. And I went with a friend and it was really fun. It was very small, so it was a nice gateway into yarn festivals. But also I'm trying not to spend any money because I'm going to the UK, so it was good that there weren't too many. So I did get a purchase, and it is to what's the word I want? I keep wanting to say refurbish. That is so far from what I want to say. Replace. To replace this yarn. So I got this one from Fliegendekiwi. Am I pronouncing that right? Fliegendekiwi Garn. Yes, I've actually never read that out loud. I've always just said it and read it. Ugh. I only ever looked at it on the screen. I've never said it out loud with my mouth. So here it is, and it's beautiful, and it's out of focus, of course. Come on. Get in focus. So it's a beautiful colour, and it's hand dyed here in Berlin. And the dyer is delightful. So if you're watching, hello. And it's pine tree colour, and I love it. So this is going to replace this one. It's a fingering weight merino extra fine sock wool, 75 wool, 25% polyamide, and it's going to be marvellous, and I have full trust that this will work. And I will probably do 2.75 for the lace and then go up to 3 for the stockinette body. But it's going to look beautiful in this beautiful yarn. So I got 2 of them, and that is the only purchase that I made from the festival. So it was very good. I did see my favourite Keats Garn, but I resisted. I held back. So it was very good. And my final knitting project subject is something that looks a bit strange when it isn't finished. It is this. And I've just realised oh, that's inside out. As I have just started recording and didn't think I would talk about knitting, I've just realised I can't remember what this pattern is. It's one of the Jessie Maed designs. It's the ripple bralette or the secret crop, my secret crop. It'll be on the screen because I will have found out by then. But I watched We Grow Wild, not her latest podcast, but the one before, I think, and she had made a halter top in a watermelon sock yarn, and I thought it was so cute. And I have the same sock yarn brand, the Regia Tutti Fruitti. This one's the Passionfruit. And when I first started knitting, I bought about 3 balls of this Tutti Fruitti yarn, and then made 2 pairs in cotton and thought I want to try wool, and then I really enjoyed knitting with wool, so I stopped knitting with the cotton, and it's been sitting in my stash ever since. So when I saw her little bralette thing, I thought that is a good idea. So although it's not as adorable as the watermelon one, which I do love, and I do have socks in that, I had a full skein of this Passionfruit one, so I am looking forward to, I don't think that was inside out, looking forward to making this into a little bralette. I am winging it a little bit because this is a fingering weight yarn. I want to see if you can see it up close. No. Come in focus. It's a fingering weight yarn, and the pattern calls for DK, or 2 fingerings held together. And if I did that, it would distort the self-striping pattern. So instead of doing an extra small, I've gone up to a medium. And instead of doing 2.5 or whatever it is recommended for this yarn, I'm doing 3. That is where my needles went on to. So I'm hoping, even if this, if this is too loose, that's fine, I'll just make it tighter up here. If it's too tight, I'm hoping, because it's cotton and it has some elastic in it, that it'll stretch. So either way, I'm hoping it will fit and will be nice. And I've got these little cute stitch stuffers at the end there from my friend Veronica. So thank you, Veronica. And there we go, the end. That's the end of my knitting. And I've just dropped my ball of yarn. So let's go on to sewing. I will show you my gift sew, and then the rest. So if you recall from my last episode, I talked, if you can hear the neighbours, sorry about that, the window's open. If you can remember my last episode, I showed you about the cardigan for a baby that I made, and I made the cardigan, not the baby. And I was really upset with it. And I forgot to mention that yes, I did block it. I blocked it twice and it still had the funky arm situation, and I felt really down about it. So I decided to sew something. I'm also not that impressed with this in some aspects, but in other aspects I think, like, well done, you did awesome. So let me show you. It is all crinkled up with a massive crease because that is my trademark apparently. I folded it up, so that's why. It's a little romper. You probably recognise the fabric as well. I don't know what happened here. This is what's annoying me. Out of the whole thing, this annoys me. I somehow didn't catch the neckband. Why am I recording today? I can't put my words in my mouth. You know what I mean. It should be smooth and it's not smooth, and that annoys me. But it's for a baby and it will just vom on it and probably fit in it for 2 weeks, so it's okay. But it's a very cute pattern. I'll have it here somewhere. And it has these little jersey bottoms. I used scraps for this. So hopefully the little footsies will fit in here. It is a size 3 months, apparently. And technically it's reversible, but I didn't have enough fabric. I just realised I'm just talking with my boobs instead of my face. Didn't have enough fabric to do different, one on the inside, one on the out, but you could have something funky on that side and then another one on the inside and just turn it inside out, because there are no seams on the inside, which is very nice. And it has a really funky trick where you basically have the inside and the outside and they merge together via the feet. It really did confuse me how to sew it all together, but I did eventually get it. So yeah, if you turn it inside out, it'll look the same, which is cool. And I kind of want an adult version. I'm not going to do it, but I kind of want one. And I added some little poppers. I could have used buttons, but the pattern said poppers and I immediately did poppers. And then afterwards I thought some little wooden buttons could have been a bit cuter. But hey ho, I'm still proud of it. I'm frustrated because everything I make has this perfect line down the middle. Even when I wash it and iron it, it just has this crease. But I'm sure with a few washes it will come out eventually. So that's my little gift knit for my friend who's having a baby in November, I think. October, November. So maybe it'll fit in there beforehand, but otherwise it should be, 3 months, so around wintry time. So that's that one. Let me put that back in my packing station so I don't forget. And my next, this one is not so fancy, but it's the precursor to the nice version. Last year I started a project using some leftover fabric from my peppermint pocket skirt. And it was this dark blue fabric, and when I tried to use the leftovers to make a tank top, the fabric was getting eaten by my machine, and I think now I've realised it was because my needle wasn't either thin enough or it was a bit blunt. So every time I sewed it all bunched up, and then when you straightened it out it just went pop 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 and all the threads came right back out. And I got raged, and then it has a scalloped top part here. Neckline, there we go. It has a scalloped neckline. But this fabric did not want to do a scalloped neckline in the slightest. I'm not sure if it was because the facing and the front were together and through my machine it was moving, and I don't have a walking foot, so I know that that can help to keep the fabric moving in the same at the same time, but I don't have one, so I didn't use one. So in the end, after a year of just seeing it sitting there discarded, I thought, I'm gonna do it, just gonna try again. And I changed my needle and it went through and it went smoothly, but the scallop hem just did not work. So after several attempts, lots of cutting and trying to cut in and cut into the scallop, like I'm not gonna do that. It just didn't work. So I just kind of made it relatively straight, but I haven't top stitched it, so the lining keeps flopping out, so I just need to top stitch it along there and then it'll be straight enough. But as you can see, it's a very shaky fabric, but it was good practice because I then made a dress and it worked. So that's the precursor, and it is nice. It does look a bit strange, but I'm hoping when I do some top stitching that will sort that out. And then I used the same knowledge, same size, same everything to make a dress. So I made 2 dresses for a wedding. So, well, 2 weddings. I've got one wedding when I get to the UK on the Saturday, and then another wedding at the very end. And I wanted to make a dress for both, so I did. I ordered some linen, and I asked you guys online which colours, and you all said yellow, like literally 100% of you said yellow. So I went with yellow. I'm going to insert a video of me wearing it because just showing you won't be that fun. And look at that crease down the middle, even though I just ironed it out. This is the scalloped edge I'm talking about. It's not hugely defined, but it isn't hugely defined in the pattern. And I think that's alright for my first attempt. It is, I should have said already, it's a pattern, a free pattern by Tammy Handmade. She released it, I think last summer, and I combined it with her Regia dress that I've shown you twice. I've made a raccoon dress and a dinosaur dress, and I did the bottom half as her Regia, and then I did her Etty Cami, but I shortened the waist. I actually should have shortened it a bit more, I think, but what are you gonna do? The linen is beautiful and the colour is beautiful, but one thing I didn't realise was how much linen frays, and this frays big time. And I always use pinking shears when I do my seams, I finish my seams. I want to learn French seams. Like, I've technically done them before, but I don't know if it's like a dyslexic thing or what, but with sewing you always have to know like right side to right side and make sure you sew on the right side of the body or the left side, you know what I mean. And I get so confused with, like, is this the right? No, I've just sewn the left at the front and the wrong. Oh. So the idea of then doing French seams where I have to sew wrong side to wrong side, then right side to right side, and then realising I've actually sewn one side wrong, one side right, that scares me a little bit, because you have to cut the seams so thin once you've done a French seam, and then you sew, and then if I realise I've made a mistake, then I've kind of screwed up my fabric. So that scares me. I will give it another go, but at the moment I keep making so many mistakes, I'm not sure if it's worth it, but I will. Anyway, long and the short of it is, I sewed this dress, I did my pinking shears, then I washed it to get the crease out, then I saw that all of the seams were just fraying and coming apart and starting to get very close to my stitching line. So I posted about it on Instagram and a few of you gave me some tips. So I had a bias binding suggestion to go over all the seams, and overlocking and zigzag. So I don't know why I didn't think about zigzagging these stitches, because I know it's something that people do, but I think for me, when I've used the zigzag stitch on my machine, whenever, generally you're meant to do, like I'll say the zig on the fabric and the zag comes off, so it catches it on the side, but as soon as my knitting needle hits the machine and not fabric, it turns off. It's like, no, I'm not doing this. And that happened to me when I started to try patchwork, where you attach one square, then another square, then another, and the tutorial said like to do a stitch, then just do some free stitching and then attach your next piece, then do some free stitching, then attach. So you'd have basically like a thread in between all of them. And as soon as my machine would hit the machine without any fabric, it just went and turned off. So that put me off of zigzagging because it never worked. So in the end I just zigzagged close to the edge, so it didn't go over. So I'm not sure if it will work. I really hope it does, but I don't. So I managed it on this one, but my next dress I didn't have enough thread. I have this much thread left. If you can see, no, it just wants my face. Not very much, and my bobbin ran out, so I can't continue. But I caught nearly everything. And yeah, I just hope it doesn't fall off at the wedding or have a massive like gaping seam, because that would be incredibly embarrassing on multiple levels, but probably more because I'll be saying, yes, I made this, and then oh, safety pin, anyone? So hopefully not. And the other addition before I put this down is I added a waist tie, because although I love having dresses that are big and flowy like a big tent, it is sometimes nice to suggest that you have some shape and that you're not the size of a tent. But I'm very short, and I do like to suggest that I'm not just a big yellow mass walking past. So I added these ties, and yeah, pulls it in enough, but not to the point where I have a zip that I can't breathe. That's that. Okay, and my next dress has a history. It was supposed to be a bridesmaid's dress for my friend who's getting married at the end of the month, and I talked to you guys about it a few times. I made a practice dress in actually the same moon fabric as the baby romper, and it had a big deep V cut out. And that was supposed to be what this dress was going to be, but then the more I wore that dress and wore it out, I thought I'm not that comfortable, and I wore a vest top underneath, which was fine, but then it kind of goes against the whole point because I really like this deep V, but then every time I sat down, it just went and just showed off my ladies, so it didn't really work. And I'm totally fine wearing the dress, the practice dress, with a tank top. No problem there, but I didn't want to remake the dress. So then I got another idea, and then another, and then I settled on this mishmash really. I basically came up with the idea, so it's not a pattern because I made it, but I borrowed inspiration. So if you are in, I think it's only in England, if you are in England and you've seen the brand Collective, they're beautiful vintage clothes. And I have a few of their dresses and skirts, and I really love them because they're so like big skirts, big pockets, you can spin around, and they're awesome. I love them. but I haven't been able to go to the UK for so long. I didn't get my fix, so didn't get to buy any dresses. So I saw what they had, a sale, and they had this beautiful coat which I would have loved to buy, but alas, I did not. And I saw these beautiful pockets, and I'm still not sure what they are. I posted about them on Instagram. None of you guys knew either, so I just guesstimated, and I had quite success. My first version is sitting here, and I will show you, but I just took it out of the washing machine, and so it's all crinkly, but I'm going to insert a picture because I did wear it recently. It was my practice dress, which the pockets are slightly too short, but they do work, but I'll just show you. Ta-da! Yeah, sorry about the crinkles. I don't think you'll actually be able to see because it's dark, but here is the center of my dress, this center panel. Then this is the side panel with the pocket, and it goes along, and yeah, it's not very deep. And then it goes and displays out, but hopefully I've put a picture or a video there. I had a princess seam pattern, but then it didn't really work. And then last week, I think it was, I showed you a dress I was wearing that had kangaroos on it, and I adjusted the princess bodice, but I didn't like the fact that it came up so high. So I adjusted that, and I took out a big V from the back. So, well, it was supposed to be a big V, but it turned out not to be very big. Just here. I did find I had a lot of gaping, which I've still got, and I can't figure out how to fix it because I don't know how to take out fabric. But what I did realize was when I made this, I designed the skirt based on a collective dress, and I did a 1 centimeter seam allowance, but then when I did the bodice, I continued on this 1 centimeter, but it was actually a 1.5 centimeter. So when I put it on, it was too big. So then I had to go into these princess seams and try and re-sew them so that they would be smaller. It looks a bit of a mess inside, but you don't know that because you don't see the inside of my dress. But it did leave a bit of gappy or extra fabric here. And the zip, for some reason, I don't know what happened. I've done zips a bunch of times and I haven't had problems, but this one didn't work that well. You can see the white, it's supposed to be invisible. And yes, I do have an invisible foot, but for some reason, it didn't really work. What else? The bias binding was also not a fantastic idea because I think it stretched out the neckline a little bit, and it's super white. I didn't have any other fabric, like I didn't have a blue one, and I didn't have enough fabric to make bias. And I didn't know how to do facings. I still don't, because you'll see that on my next dress. But yes, this was a practice, but a successful practice, because it's beautiful and I love wearing it, and I added some belt loops to it here. That's my first time adding belt loops. These are my first time doing pockets, my first time drafting out a panelled skirt, which was fun. Haven't quite got the bottom right, it's kind of does this, so I need to adjust that on my pattern. And my second time doing princess seams. So I love this dress. Hopefully I've put a nice picture instead of just flailing this around. But going from this experience, I realised it was a nightmare trying to get the back zipper undone, because this one specifically, the zipper has, I think I've sewn it slightly too close on one part, so it gets a bit stuck, and then when you're trying to do it like this, it just didn't really work. So I decided I would do a side zipper on the next dress. That was a long story to get to the original dress I was supposed to be talking about. But I basically made a second version, and here it is. again, and I'll insert a video somewhere, my not seam allowance, facing is being a nuisance. Look at this. It's just being ridiculous. Yes, I have actually understitched it and I've also top stitched it, but it's still jumping around, and I'm not sure why I keep being surprised that my linen dresses constantly look creased, because everybody knows that linen creases, but I keep looking at it thinking, oh, I need to iron that. But alas, here is the dress. You might see the pockets a bit better here. These ones are a lot deeper. Ugh. Yeah. But the problem is, I bought this to be a bridesmaid's dress, and on the screen it looked the right colour, and then when it arrived it is so much more blue in colour than green. It's supposed to be more on the bottle green side of teal rather than the blue side of teal, and on the picture it looked nothing like this. So although it's a beautiful colour, it's a completely wrong colour for the wedding. So now it is no longer the bridesmaid's dress after all of this work, because it's the wrong colour. But it's okay, because I'm just going to wear it to the wedding, like the day before the wedding and then the day after the wedding. It'll still be an occasion dress for the wedding, but not the bridesmaid's dress I had planned this entire time. But dress is lovely. But weirdly, I did the 1.5 centimeter seam allowance and it's still kind of too big. It falls off slightly at my shoulders, it looks a little bit more boat necky, and it's still too loose at the back. I did a big faux pas. I'm not sure what I did with these facings. I did get in a mess with the facings because I've never designed my own, and I haven't really been using them from the patterns. I just line everything. But I didn't line this because I thought, facing, that'll be super easy. And I originally didn't do the facing properly, and then I sewed it and nothing worked. I couldn't turn the armbands inside out because the lining was in the way, and then I had to cut it and then re-sew it. It was a disaster really, but now it's fine. I figured it out, so that's nice. But yeah, I've got this situation, which is fine when I'm actually wearing it because it just gets pressed in against my body. But yeah, when it's hanging up it looks a bit stupid. And I also need to do what I was just telling you about, which is to zigzag everything. And then when I've done that, hopefully I can do that at my parents' house. I'll order the thread to them and then zigzag all of these seams, and then I think I'll try and tack it down somehow so it doesn't pop up, because that's really annoying. More so on the, like, it also looks just awful if you look at it that side. Look at this crazy fraying. So yeah, and I also don't know how you would French seam a linen facing. So that can't happen. I think I could maybe have folded this before turning it into a facing, like having flat, giving it a slight hem, and then ironing it and then sewing it in. That could be another idea. So I might try that next time. And yeah, I also, because of the way I did these facings, I didn't do a proper facing for the V-neck part. It's very slight V-neck, but V nonetheless, and I did not do a good job here because my facing didn't really work. I needed to somehow do a deeper V, but by the time I had got to this stage I was just done because I made a major faux pas on my zip, and don't know what happened, to be honest. I went flying through this whole skirt. I got everything done in a day. It was wonderful. I had everything lined up, everything fit, it was perfect. I got my bodice done, like the front, the main part with the seam allowances, everything was perfect, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, the mistakes just happened. The lining situation happened, and then my zip. And I have done this new zip technique before, and it was great, and I really enjoyed it, where you basically sew your side seam, then where you want your zip, you do a basting stitch, then continue your normal stitch, and then you insert your zip into it, baste the zip on, and then undo those basting stitches that you originally did for the seam. But I didn't do that. I also interfaced the wrong part somehow, and then when I had sewn in my zip, I realised I couldn't sew the other side because the fabric, like, they were stuck together. So then I had to use my seam ripper to undo the basting stitches, but I managed to get a bit heavy-handed and I ripped apart the zip. What do you call it? Like the sides. You've got the fabric part of a zip and then the zip, and I ripped the fabric part away from the zip. So I destroyed the zip. So then I had to rip out the whole zip and then get a new zip and then redo the whole thing. But the interfacing started poking out through the front. I spent, after thinking it would take me 15 minutes to do the zip, it took me 3 hours because I did it wrong. Then I spent the next time trying to fix it and trying to individually cut away all of the interfacing that you can see and trying to fix it where it all went wrong up here. So luckily, it doesn't look horrendous. I think no one would look at that and go, oh, you've done something horribly wrong. I did make a mistake where I ripped out the seams accidentally at this part between the bodice and the skirt, so I've had to hand sew that in. And I just thought, this is a spectacular fail for a dress that you've been planning and worrying about, because these linens are the most expensive fabric that I've ever used. I was so nervous about cutting into them, so I made sure I did practice dresses and everything would work, and then I just spectacularly went wrong on this dress with the neckline and the facing of the zip. But it is okay. I did the zip, I added some belt loops, so if I put a belt through, then you definitely can't see the zip malarkey. But then, yeah, as I said, I put it through the wash and it all started fraying. So I've had to zigzag all of the princess seams, because when you do those, you clip into them to help the curve, to get rid of excess fabric. And oh, I just thought, oh my god, they're all gonna undo and I'll just have my boobs suddenly sporadically popping out through my seams. So that had to be sorted. So I'm thinking I might have to really get serious about investing in an overlocker, because I have several linen items, none of them frayed like these two, but they did come from different companies. But whenever I walk around, all the fray fabric comes off, which actually in my last episode I could not unsee the fabric. I had some white in my hair the entire video because I had put on the kangaroo dress, and all the fabric had frayed and like landed, like snowed into my hair, and I just thought, everyone watching this thinks she has dandruff and she needs to sort that out. And it wasn't, it was fabric. So I get that with a lot. Even earlier, I've got this dress, I've got bits of frayed pink in my hair, and you'll see it around my apartment on the floor, bits of fabric. So I definitely need to do something that isn't pinking shearing my seams, because it's obviously not working. But alas, overlockers are expensive, but I think I've made enough dresses to show, yes, I am interested in sewing, because originally I thought maybe I'm not going to enjoy it or be good at it. And even though I've just explained to you all the mistakes, I don't think I'm a terrible seamstress. I think seamstress seems a bit fancy, a sewer. I don't think I'm terrible, I'm just telling you my mistakes because this is a podcast to talk about sewing. But in general, I'm really happy with my dress, and the fit isn't fantastic, but it fits and it still looks nice. I'm still working on figuring out how to take out fabric from here, because I don't want it to come out. I don't want to make it smaller because then I can't move my arms or I can't breathe when I sit down. Like when I sit down, I still want the same amount of fabric here. It's just up here between my shoulder blades, because when I sit down, the fabric pokes out like a big V. And that's what I'd like to change. And I have seen different adjustments, etc. But I've seen people like pinching out, but when I tried that with this, it just didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried extra darts, I tried adding, taking away. I just don't know. I need a class, I think, to really understand exactly what I need to do and when. But hey, I've been talking a lot. Hopefully I have made sense and not just sounded really negative, because I didn't mean to be negative. I'm just telling you my experience, which happened to be stressful at the end. But yes, this is my linen dress. That is kind of my wedding bridesmaid, but not dress. And I very much love it. Sad that it's the wrong colour, but I still love it. What did I want to say? Yeah, basically I made up the pattern by looking at dresses I had and altering extensively a princess theme bodice that I have from a book. But I very much love my dresses. Actually everything. I did want to end on one more sewing project, which is this dress. If you saw, I think it's about my, I don't know, I'm guesstimating, early days of my podcasting, I made this dress. It's the Marcel Dress by Chalk and Notch, and I really loved the pattern and I loved the dress, but it's a heavyweight linen. The other two there are medium weight, and this was heavyweight, which I didn't know the difference back then. I just bought linen, and I thought it was going to be like a rusty brown from the picture online, but I've now learned linen, taking pictures of linen must be very hard, because the colours that I receive never look like the colours that I think they are, which I want to say I love this colour, but I would not buy it, and I wouldn't buy it again. But now that I have it, I'm quite content to wear it. But it is insanely bright. But it basically, I have inserted a video, I'm sure, but this part's grand, and then it's all gathering, so there's a lot of fabric, even though it might not look like it. And then you've got another section of gathering, and here, and yeah, I've shown it to you again. I've shown it to you somewhere, other podcasts, but then there are another 2 tiers, and the tiers get wider. So it was a very heavy dress, and I also just made it to pattern and didn't put my brain on and think, I'm 5'2", that's never going to fit. So it skimmed my feet, so when I walked sometimes the fabric would go under my heel, so then I took it up a little bit, but then I just struggled so much to wear it. I went to a restaurant, we sat outside, and I sat down, and all the fabric just went onto the floor, which had cigarettes and like just rubbish on the floor because we were outside. So then I had to lift up the fabric, fold it in half, squash it down, and sit on it. And then when I stood up, I'd have to carry it because it would get so heavy that it pulled down the back here, and my label would stick out. But I really loved it so much and I didn't want to cut it up. But then this summer came around and I thought, I want to wear this dress. I have to stop being so precious about it. So I got my scissors out. I seam ripped off the 2 bottom tiers and then I cut through this middle and the back middle and hemmed them. So I've made it into a mini dress. Didn't expect it to be quite so short, so now it's the opposite where it's very short. I could probably have done with taking just 1 tier off, but it's fun just to have something different because I wouldn't ever wear a dress this short. And then I did think last year I'll definitely wear this heavyweight linen in winter, and I never did because if it's raining or snowing or cold and you're wearing boots, this dress at the length it was did not work with any moisture on the floor or heavy boots, and it would get stuck in the boots. So now I'm thinking I can wear leggings and maybe a long sleeve top or a jumper over top, and it'll look cute because it'll be thick and warm, but then I can wear something and something under. So now it's seasonal appropriate. So ta-da! Is my tea ready? Yes, after all this blabbing, my hot tea is now drinkable temperature. So I hope that this episode wasn't too all over the place. I feel always like I talk super fast and I make a big mess of what I'm trying to say and I can't find my words. But then sometimes when I edit I think, oh, it's not so bad. But during, I feel like my mouth is playing catch up with my mind. But hopefully I covered everything and it made sense. And I'm hoping that I can make something more knitting wise, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to be in the UK for 3 weeks and I go on Thursday, so I might record during on my phone instead of my camera, or I might just record when I'm back. We shall see. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any tips, please let me know below. And if you want to find me anywhere else, I am on Instagram and Ravelry and Coffee as Emily Kate Makes. So yes, ta-da, the end. How awkward. Thank you for watching. Bye.